Hi there, Tamara Dorris here. And today I want to talk about what I call the 3DC. 3DC. First of all, I love it because it's 3 Ds and a C, as in the letters. But secondly, it also represents something really interesting to me, which is 3D, what we're all living in, the third dimension, and the C would be to create something new. And I'm not going to get into this to the third, fourth, fifth dimensions too much in this video, but suffice it to say, the three-dimension world that we live in is where everything's physical, or it seems physical. Whatever you can detect with your five senses. That's the 3D world. The 4th D world is our imagination. It's when we close our eyes and we go into an alpha brainwave and we're relaxed, our brain, our body is relaxed, and we can imagine and we can create. We're doing that in the 4th dimension. The 5th dimension is where everything, every potential we could ever want is already there. So our job in the 3D is to be in the 3D. We're human, we're here, we're in the 3D. But to be able to connect every day with the 4th D so that we can bring our 5th D desires here in the physical reality. Sounds juicy, right? Okay, but I want to get really basic here today. So the first D is desire. You have to have a desire for something different. A lot of people talk about contrast, but I don't have what I want now. That is the way that you know what you want, is by living in what you don't want. If you already had everything you wanted, there would be nothing to manifest. There would be nothing to work toward. We would all be fat and lazy. I mean, why? Why bother, right? We think we want all of this wealth and wonderment and joy. And on some level, of course, we do. We think we do. But when we have it, we don't just top out. We're not just like, okay, I'm happy now. I'm happy. This is all I want. No, because human beings are meant to expand. Everything in the universe expands and contracts, expands and contracts. So even, let me give you an example. When you were 16, all you wanted to do was drive. Oh, you couldn't wait to drive. Just let me drive alone, Mom. I want to drive. How excited do you get about it now? Are you like, I can't wait to drive to the post office? No, it's no big deal. And that's because once you hit an achievement, a dream, a desire, you expand and you want something more. It's good for a while, but then you want something more. So desire is actually the rocket fuel that starts any manifestation. But again, if you don't have contrast to what you want, you're not going to have the desire. If you're born into a family with lots of wealth and you already have a beautiful Bentley, for example, and you drive around in it every day, you are just going to love your Bentley, right? But if you have a VW that barely starts, nothing personal against VW owners, but if you have a car that barely starts, you're going to say, okay, this is what I have that I don't want. Now let me go to what I do want. One of the biggest problems with the first D, desire, is that we do not go into the 4th dimension of our imagination, our closed-eyed emotion, thinking, imagination, to envision what's possible. That's a big problem with desire. We say we want it, but then we sit here and look at not having it. And we get mad about it. So when you see contrast, embrace it as the universe's way of saying that you can have something different, and this is the catalyst, the impetus to get you there. One of the things, and it doesn't matter to me if you believe in God or the universe or quantum science or whatever you believe in, but I will tell you from a neuroscience perspective, with that desire comes a programming of your nervous system and your reticular activator system in your brain, which is your filter. So if I desire, let's say I desire, I hate to use money because everyone does and money is never the answer, but let's just say, okay, let's say I want to have a multi-million-dollar coaching empire. That's what I want. And when I think about it, and it makes me feel so good, things are happening on a subconscious level. Now, if I think about it and I feel so good with my eyes closed and at a reduced brainwave, now I'm in the fourth dimension. Now I'm on the way to the quantum, where that possibility, by the way, is already there. It's already there. But I'm sitting here in my 3D and I'm going like, well, wow, you know, it's okay. My business is great, but it's not like that. And I sit there and I look at that. I'm using contrast in the wrong way. Does that make sense? I'm using it as a, this is what I have, instead of this is what I want different or more improved. Okay, so the first one is desire. The second one is decide. We have to make a decision. And you know, this goes back, and I could give you 1,000 examples, but I won't. I'll give you a few. Anyone from inventors like Thomas Edison, Henry Ford. When Henry Ford invented the motorized car, people were saying we need a faster carriage. Like, car wasn't even in their realm of awareness. Like, what is that? People thought he was crazy, but he persevered and he pursued and he made a decision. This is what I'm going to create in my life. Athletes, Olympians, there's no skill set difference. When they beat the other one by like a hair, they both have the same skill set, clearly. But the one person who made it believed a little more. They made a decision. People get hung up on the how do I change my beliefs? You just change your story. I mean, that's with my coaching. It's about story and state. We throw strategy in on top of it all, but it's about story and state. And you can change your story at any given time. And so the people who win the Olympics are the ones that had a decision, that made a decision. They changed their story in spite of their current reality, and they said, this is what I'm going to have. You know, one of the things that I love about high-end coaching is that I get people who make a decision. And this goes for me too. Whenever, if I were to see someone, a speaker, or read a book, and I'm like, wow, I really love how they think. I want to take a program with them or coach with them. And they charge me $200. I'm not going to do that. It's the ones that charge 10, 20, 30,000, because that solidifies my decision. So I always say that anytime anyone commits to coaching or a program, they have made a decision. Now it's up to them to maintain the focus on that decision. It's up to them to have that ability to stay focused on the end result. So the decision is never about the how. And I have so many people over the last 25 years who I've worked with, you know, from hypnotherapy to real estate coaching. So many people who get so caught up in the how that they don't allow themselves to go into the fourth dimension and do the creative work that we do. They don't allow it because they're like, well, but how would that happen? And I always use the example sometimes with my clients. I used to think about winning the lottery like 10 years ago. I used to think about winning the big lottery. And my mind would go to, now how would I divide it up between the kids? What? That's not right. We want to focus on, with the decision, is the feeling of the what. It's the feeling of the outcome. It's not about how we got there. Let's give the universe something to do. Let's give our reticular activator system something to do, and let's give our energy something to do. Don't worry, in this second phase of decide, you are not trying to figure out the how. Strategy comes way later. These things come first, okay? So the decision, your decision is what I'm going to have. Mahatma Gandhi made a decision. Martin Luther King Jr. made a decision. These are people that are not going, I mean, Mahatma Gandhi didn't go, yeah, I think maybe I'll save India. I don't know. No, he decided this is what I'm going to do. A decision. And honestly, I see a lot of people, and it's people in sales, people who have their own business, people who have a dream. They just get really wimpy on the decision part. They don't want to decide. They're like, well, yeah, I want that, but don't worry about the how. The how is what screws everyone up. Focus on the what and the feeling of it, okay? The third one is distraction. When we make a decision based on a desire, we're going to be a lot more likely to withstand distraction if those first two D's are really strong. But what I find is a lot of people will let the distractions, which could be the contrast, but honestly, it's more often the daily hiccups. It's the daily distractions. It's the, did you see what she was wearing? It's the, oh my gosh, what do you think she had to do for that? Or it's the, I can't believe he commented on my post like that. Or it's the call from, a sister-in-law that irritates you, or, a brother-in-law that said something snarky. It's those daily distractions that at the end of the day mean zero. Like, in 5 years, will you even think twice about that remark? No. And I guarantee you, in most cases, you won't even remember it. You may remember being in a bad mood and then how everything kind of coalesced and got worse and worse. But we don't remember these daily distractions because they're so superficial. But yet, we let them take us down. So with the third D of distractions, it's all about learning to bounce back from them. It's about seeing a distraction and not letting it get you down. Yeah, you have to take action. Like this is the craziest thing. Well, maybe it's not crazy, but we have a boat, a yacht, not a big, huge, fancy yacht, but a yacht. And the first 2 years we had it, we never got what's called a tax bill. And now they send you an annual tax bill. I don't know if it's once or twice a year, but it's like a tax bill. We pay a high fee to have this docked at a marina, but because of the just ownership, like I think they used to call it a luxury tax or something, and it's ridiculous, right? We pay for the boat. We pay a high monthly fee to have the boat. We have insurance on the boat. And now we have to pay taxes on having a boat? What? Property taxes. Are you getting us property taxes? Makes no sense. Anyway, when that comes in, and I'm, you're seeing me rant about it here, but I did for a few days. I'm like, what? So this is happening now every year. So I just pay it because it's a distraction. And I often think that these distractions come into my life so that I can experiment with all the things that I teach and coach in so that I can use it for an example, which I just did. So now it's like, okay, this is just the price that I pay. And if I divide up what that is by every month, it's like, it's not the end of the world. I get to have the boat, right? Or whatever it is. So distractions are probably one of the most important things for you to consider, because if you have a strong desire and you decide you're going to have it, it's the little distractions that can throw you off. Now, also, the big distractions can throw you off. Like, you lose your job. And in fact, I'll give you an example of losing a job. I had a client who worked for a company. She was a financial planner for a company, a corporate company. And all she did was gripe about the job, and she wanted a new job, and she wanted more income, and she wanted this and that. And so she had the desire, and she made a decision. And shortly after that, she called me and she goes, "Oh my God, I got fired." And I'm like, "Great." And she's like, "What? What do you mean great?" And I said, "Because you had a desire, and we changed your story around what's possible for you, and you made the decision to have that new story. And now the universe is taking you out of what you hate so you can create something that you love." So when she first came to me coaching, it was about just helping her manifest more money. And now all of a sudden, we got to work on her manifesting a better business. And so what she did is she started her own business, and she's happy. I mean, we all have the stress of entrepreneurship, but she has the freedom and the excitement that I had never seen in her before. So the universe will help you out. What happens when you have distractions, and I really want you to get this, is you are recalibrating. You're given the opportunity to recalibrate your energy. Does that make sense? Is that landing? So distractions are something to overlook, work with, learn from, and recalibrate with. Okay? So we've got desire, decide, distractions. The last one is maybe the most important, but they all go hand in hand for the 3DC, and it is the C of conviction. Now, when you talk about, let's use Thomas Edison, there's the old joke, "I didn't fail, I just found 9,999 ways not to create a light bulb." Okay, he had conviction. How many salespeople do I work with where they will try to, like in real estate, farm a neighborhood for like 2 months, and they sent out postcards and they didn't get any results? That is not conviction. You do not quit. You may find a different path, but you have to give things time. What you have to understand is in the 3D reality and the quantum reality, in the 5D, there's this time gap. Here on planet Earth, we have a space-time continuum. So things move like molasses comparatively up there where they move in an instant. But when we're doing something that falls under the strategy of my system, story, state, strategy, it's going to take time. It's like moving through molasses on planet Earth. But if you've done your job in the 4th D and created something, it's going to happen. But the minute you lose faith is when all the energy comes back down here. Now, you don't have to say faith as in faith in God. I like to say certainty in science. Not that I don't believe in God, because I personally do, but that's not the point. The point is that some people they're not comfortable with that. So I choose to teach from science because nobody can argue with science. So certainty in science. But more importantly than that, I think, is the conviction that you're going to have that. And think about it. You have the desire, you made the decision you're going to have it, you're overcoming the distractions. Now the conviction is what's going to take you, it's like what's going to take you that last few feet. It's what's going to get you to the finish line. The conviction, the belief. And, a lot of this starts with believing in yourself. If you don't want to believe in the certainty of science, I think that's crazy because science is science. But maybe you don't have faith in the universe or in your creator, in whatever way you want to look at it. That's okay. But you have to have belief in yourself. And what I find in all these years of working with people is that's where they drop the ball. They don't believe in themselves. They're like, nah, I don't know. But that's where we have to change our story. And anybody can change their story at any time. And, and I will tell you, I did some research for the current book I'm working on, and I wanted to see how many books were about changing beliefs. And it was almost 1 million. I looked at a few different web search engines, and you couldn't even pin it down, because even books that weren't just about belief had a chapter on belief. In fact, all of my books probably have a chapter or a section on beliefs. So we have made the belief industry big time, like $1 billion industry. And I'm just guessing. I can't substantiate that with statistical evidence, but it's $1 billion industry, because at the end of the day, what are we all doing but trying to change our negative beliefs? Like, we have heard self-limiting beliefs so many times that you don't even think about it when you hear the term self-limiting beliefs. Yeah, I have those. We all have them. But the good news is, quit looking for what they are and just change them to what you want them to be, right? You don't have to go digging around and exploring and excavating what happened to you when you were 5 and how sad it made you. You don't have to do that. Change the story. This is going to be my new story. And when you add that new story to desire and your decision, and you overcome the distractions, and you are just absolutely committed, and you have conviction, committed and conviction, both start with C, then there's no stopping you. And I look at all the great people, all the athletes and inventors and actors and people. I always say, what is the difference in millions of people go to Hollywood every year, and they want to be, maybe not millions, but hundreds of thousands, and they want to be famous. What's the difference between Jennifer Aniston and someone who looked just like her and acted just like her but didn't get it? Because we all have lookalikes, right? It's the conviction. And I'm not talking about, oh, well, she knew people or he knew people. I'm not talking about all of that. Of course, that plays a role. But when you have a conviction and you're damned and determined that that's the outcome you're going to have, you don't let the distractions or the contrast get to you, and you are just convicted, that's the person who's going to win. And so you can actually look at Hollywood and all the famous actors, and you can actually say, those were the actors who had the most conviction. How do I know? Because they're in the roles that they're in. And then I look at salespeople who are like, oh, I just want to make $200,000 this year. Really? Of course you can. But you've got to have the desire. You've got to make the decision. You've got to be able to withstand and bounce back and recalibrate from all the distractions. And you have to have the conviction. It's going to happen. And when we get this, when we totally get this, 100%, that everything in our 3D is just a result of our previous thinking and feeling. Absolutely. And that by thinking and feeling different in the 4D, we can have all the changes we want. It's right here, right now. Okay, so hopefully you found that helpful. If I'm really passionate about it, it's because I'm really passionate about it. So if I can help you in any way, there's links below for my free classes, and watch more videos and read my books, and I hope you have a beautiful day. Thank you again. Bye-bye for now.